Hello everyone, welcome back to the cooking simulator tutorial. In this video we will implement a feature I hadn't originally planned, but I think it's very important. We will add interaction focus on objects in this video. If you'd like to support the channel, you can purchase the assets from the video by link in the description, and you will be able to use them in all your projects. First open BPI interactable and add two functions. Highlight and remove highlight. We will use these functions to apply and remove the highlight effect. Next open project settings, engine, collisions. Now we need to add a new object channel and name it interactable object. Set the default response to ignore. Then open the grab drop and interactable collision presets. For both cases, set black for the interactable object and change the object type to interactable object. Now open BP character. Add a new variable named objects to interact, which should be an actor array. Also add another variable called highlight object of type actor. Next, let's add a capsule collider named interact collider. And move it in the front of the character. Increase the height and radius for testing. Later you can reduce the size to make it more precise. Now untick hidden in game, so we can see the collider while testing. Change its collision settings to custom. Set everything to ignore, except for interactable object, which should be set to overlap. Now create a custom event named setHighlightObject. Add an input called object2highlight of type actor. Inside this function, use sequence node. For the first pin, use validated get for the highlighted object. And call remove highlight. For the second pin, set object to highlight as the new highlighted object. Then, if highlighted object is valid, call highlight to apply the effect. Next, we need to implement on component begin overlap and on component end overlap for interact collider. Let's start with on component begin overlap. First check if other actor implements BPI interactable interface. If it does, add other actor to objects to interact. And promote its new index to the highlighted object index variable. Finally, call setHighlightObject for other actor. Now let's implement onComponent and overlap. First remove other actor from objects to interact. Next, check if other actor is highlighted object. If it is, set last index of objects to interact as highlighted item index. And call setHighlightObject for last item. If the highlighted object wasn't removed, find its index in objects to interact, and update highlighted object index. Now that we have implemented interaction focus updates, we also need to give the player control over selecting object when overlapping multiple interactable objects. First open the inputs folder and add a new input action named IA highlight next object. Next open IMC default and set tab key as a key binding for the new input action. Now open BP character again. Add the IA highlight next object event. At the start, check if objects to interact is not empty. If there are some objects in the array, add the sequence node. From the first pin, increase highlighted object index by 1. Then use modulo with the length of objects to interact, to ensure the index loops correctly. Update highlighted object index. From the second pin, call setHighlightObject using the new highlighted object from the objects to interact. While we are in BP character, let's make use highlighted object for grabbing and interacting. Inside IA grab drop, from the started pin, instead of finding object to interact and using a branch node, call validated get for highlighted object. We will now handle interactions directly. If highlighted object is valid, call grab drop. If it's not valid, act as before when there was no objects to grab. Next, inside IA start interact, replace the existing object search with validated get of highlighted object and call interact on it. Next, let's add the highlight effect. To do this, we will create a new material inside the assets folder and name it PP highlight. We use PP because this will be post-processing material. Open the material and set the material domain to post-process. Next, set blendable location to sand color before bloom. Now let's start implementing the material graph. First, get scene textile size. Also get screen position. Then add textile size to viewport UV. Next, add a scene texture node and set scene texture ID to custom stencil. Now take the add result and connect it to the scene texture node. Next, copy the scene texture node. Here we need to add another value. Multiply scene textile size by -1. Then add it to scene position. Set the result as the input for the second scene texture node. From the boss scene texture node, get component mask for the add channel. Finally, find the distance between these masks. Hold the 4 key and click to add a color node. I'd like to use white or yellow. Next, add a make fold 4 node and connect the color to it. Now multiply the distance result by the make fold 4 output. Then multiply that result by 0.5. This will be our opacity. So right-click the pin and convert it to parameter. And name it opacity. Next, add the scene texture node and set it to post-process input 0. Add multiply result to scene texture color. Then connect it to emissive color. And now our material is ready. Now we need to apply the material. First, open project settings, search for custom depth stencil path and set it to enable with stencil. Next, open the level and add a post-process volume and tick infinite extend, so it affects the entire scene. Now add our post-process material to the volume. To check if the material works, select any mesh, enable custom depth, and set stencil to 1. We're almost done. Just one last step. We need to implement the highlight effect for our interactable objects. Let's start with BP table. First we will implement highlight. At the beginning of the function, check if there is a valid placed object. If there is, simply call highlight on that object. But if there isn't, we will enable the highlight effect on the table mesh. To do that, call setRandomCustomDepth on the mesh and set it to true. Then set custom depth stencil value to 1. This activates the outline effect. Now let's implement remove highlight. If they are placed object, we just call remove highlight on it. But if there isn't, we disable the effect by calling setRenderCustomDepth with false. We have now got our highlight effect working on table. Now it's time to add the highlight effect to BP grabbable. First let's implement the highlight function. Here just call setRenderCustomDepth on the mesh and set it to true. Then set custom depth stencil value to 1. For remove highlight, all we need to do is set random custom depth to false. Now let's open the BP burger. In the highlight function, first call the parent function to inherit the default behavior. Then apply the custom stencil effect to the top mesh, using set random custom depth, and set custom depth stencil value. For remove highlight, just call the parent function. Then disable custom depth on the top mesh. Now we need to remove the highlight effect when we interact with objects. First we should remove the highlighted object when grabbing something. Open BP character, enclose the code inside on component and overlap into a new function called remove highlight. Now open the function and double check the connections. Make sure all pins are correctly linked, especially the input. In my case the input broke, which means the actor wouldn't be removed from the list. So make sure that's fixed. Now go back to the event graph. When we grab an object, we need to call remove highlight for grabbed object. Next let's handle BP table. Since we highlight the placed object, when an object is grabbed from the table, we should highlight the table itself instead. In this case we know that if the character grabs something from the table, characters are interacting with table. So in the grab event, first remove the highlight, to remove the highlight from the placed object, and then call highlight to add the highlighting to the table. Inside the place event, At the start, call remove highlight. And at the end, call highlight again. Now we just have one last thing to do, auto pickup area. Open it. Inside highlight function, call set random custom depth. Also set stencil value to 1. For remove highlight, just set random custom depth to false. Now it's time for testing. Open BP Correct and make maybe capsule wider to test it easier. And open the level and check how it works. And everything works well. Thank you for your attention and see you soon.